Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're journeying back in time to 15th century Vietnam, a land shrouded in sorrow and struggle. Imagine a country groaning under the harsh rule of Ming invaders from the north. The Vietnamese people were stripped of their freedom, their homes were ravaged, and their culture was suppressed. It was a time of immense suffering, where hope seemed like a distant memory. But even in the darkest of nights, a single star can shine the brightest. And in this era of despair, that star was a man named La Lie. Born into a wealthy family in Thanh Hoa province, La Lie could have chosen a life of comfort. Instead, he was a patriot to his core, unable to stand by while his people suffered. He saw the atrocities committed by the invaders, the forced labor, the destruction of traditions, and the constant fear that permeated daily life. Fueled by a burning desire for justice and independence, he renounced his comfortable life and retreated into the mountains. There, he began to gather a following, uniting brave men and women from all walks of life under a single banner to reclaim their homeland. This wasn't just a rebellion, it was the birth of a revolution, the Lam Sơn uprising. The early days of the resistance were incredibly difficult. Le Louis's forces were small, poorly equipped, and constantly hunted by the much larger and better organized Ming army. They faced starvation, disease, and the bitter cold of the mountainous jungle. Many times, they were on the brink of defeat, forced to scatter and hide, their spirits tested to the absolute limit. It was during one of these desperate moments, while on the run from enemy soldiers, that Le Lie found himself cornered near a river. As he contemplated his next move, a strange event unfolded. An old fisherman, seemingly appearing out of nowhere, approached him. The fisherman wasn't ordinary. His eyes held a strange wisdom. He presented Le Lie with a beautifully crafted sword hilt, its surface shimmering with an otherworldly light. The fisherman spoke in a low, steady voice, telling Le Lie that this was no ordinary object. It was a gift from the Dragon King, a symbol that heaven itself had chosen him to lead the nation to salvation. Confused but feeling a strange power emanating from the hilt, La Lie accepted the mysterious gift, sensing that his destiny was about to change forever. Meanwhile, a different piece of this divine puzzle was being discovered elsewhere. One of Le Louis's most loyal soldiers, Le Thun, was a fisherman by trade. One day, while casting his net into a deep part of the river, he felt an unusually heavy weight. He pulled with all his might, expecting a huge catch, but was disappointed to find only a heavy bar of iron. Thinking it was useless, he threw it back into the water. But strangely, the next time he cast his net in the same spot, he pulled up the very same piece of iron. This happened a third time, and now, intrigued, he took a closer look. After cleaning away the mud and rust, he was stunned to see it was not just a bar of iron, but a magnificent, gleaming sword blade, glowing with a soft, ethereal light. He knew this was something special, and decided to bring it to his leader, Le Lie. When Le Thun presented the blade to his commander, Le Lie immediately felt a connection. He pulled out the hilt he had received from the mysterious old fisherman. As he brought the two pieces together, a miracle happened. The hilt and the blade clicked into place, fitting together perfectly, as if they were always meant to be one. The complete sword, now named Thun Theon, or Heaven's Will, radiated an incredible power. The moment Le Lie held it, he felt a surge of strength and clarity. The air around them seemed to crackle with energy, and his men looked on in awe, their morale soaring. They now had more than just a leader. They had a divine mandate. The sword wasn't just a weapon. It was a promise from the heavens that their cause was just and their victory was destined. With the sacred sword in hand, the tide of the war began to turn dramatically. It was as if the sword itself was guiding Le Louis's hand. His strategies became more brilliant, his attacks more precise, and his small, ragged army fought with the strength of 10 armies. Miracles seemed to follow them onto the battlefield. In one legendary battle, they were hopelessly outnumbered, but a sudden dense fog rolled in, confusing the enemy, and allowing Le Lie's forces to launch a surprise attack that sent the invaders fleeing in chaos. In another, they were able to find secret paths through treacherous mountains that were previously thought impassable. Victory followed victory. The legend of the divine sword spread like wildfire across the land, inspiring people everywhere to join the resistance. The Vietnamese people, once broken and fearful, were now filled with a renewed sense of hope and national pride. They believed that the spirit of their ancestors and the very land itself were fighting alongside them, channeled through Le Lie and his magical sword. After 10 long, grueling years of relentless struggle, the Lam Sơn uprising achieved its ultimate goal. La Lewis's forces drove the last of the Ming invaders from Vietnamese soil, finally liberating the nation. The country was free, and peace was restored. The people rejoiced, celebrating their hero who had led them from the depths of despair to glorious independence. In recognition of his leadership and unwavering spirit, La Lei ascended the throne in 1428, becoming King Lê and founding the illustrious later La dynasty, which would go on to rule for centuries. He established the capital in Thang Long, the city we now know as Hanoi, and began the monumental task of rebuilding the nation, healing the wounds of war, and ushering in an era of prosperity and cultural revival. 1 year after his coronation, the war was a memory and the kingdom was flourishing. King Lê, seeking a moment of peace, decided to take a small boat out onto a large, picturesque lake in the heart of the capital. The lake was known for its tranquil, emerald-green waters. As the king glided across the calm surface, enjoying the gentle breeze and the warm sun, the water suddenly began to stir. From the depths, a gigantic golden turtle emerged, its shell glistening like polished gold. It was an ancient, mythical creature, the kind spoken of only in legends. The turtle swam directly towards the king's boat, its wise, old eyes fixed on him. It wasn't a threat, but a messenger. The golden turtle, a sacred guardian of the waters, spoke to the king in a human voice, a voice that seemed to echo with the wisdom of ages. It said, "Your Majesty, the sacred sword was lent to you by the Dragon King to fulfill a great purpose, to drive out the invaders and save our people. Now that peace has returned to the land, the sword's mission is complete. The time has come to return it." Lê understood immediately. The sword was never truly his. It was a divine tool, a loan from the spiritual guardians of Vietnam. His heart filled with gratitude, not sorrow. He stood up in his small boat and unstrapped the sacred sword, Thun Theon, from his side. As he held it aloft, the sword began to glow with a brilliant, blinding light, brighter than ever before, as if acknowledging its destiny. The king respectfully presented the sword towards the golden turtle. The turtle opened its powerful jaws, not in aggression, but with gentle reverence, and took the glowing sword. With the divine weapon secured, the golden turtle gave the king one last, knowing look before it slowly submerged, diving back into the deep green water. The sword and the turtle vanished beneath the surface, leaving behind only faint ripples that soon disappeared, as if it had all been a dream. To commemorate this sacred event and the divine intervention that secured their freedom, King Lê renamed the lake. From that day forward, it was known as Hon Kim, which translates to the Lake of the Returned Sword. And today, right in the center of modern-day Hanoi, Hoàn Kiếm Lake remains one of the most cherished landmarks in all of Vietnam. The Turtle Tower, or THP Ra, stands elegantly on a small island in the middle of the lake, marking the very spot where the golden turtle is said to have appeared. It serves as a constant, beautiful reminder of this incredible legend, a story of heroism, destiny, and the sacred bond between the Vietnamese people and their land. It teaches us that power is often temporary, lent for a purpose, and that true leadership lies in knowing when to wield it and when to humbly return it. The story of Lê and the returned sword is more than just a myth. It's the heart of the Vietnamese spirit of independence. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into Vietnamese history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories from around the world. See you next time.